Hi, everyone. We are moving on to the next prose piece, and I would like to begin differently. I'm going to start off with the questions. So let's find out what we are looking for in the story "A Gorilla in the Guest Room" by Gerald Durrell. Okay, so please get your text, because what you're going to do is, as we discuss the questions, some of the key features will be identified, and we'll write out the basic terms that we think are important into our text, and that will help us in sort of discussing the story as we move on, right? Okay, got your text? Page 73, 72 is about the author, 73 the story. Look at the first one. This is from sample paper 2019. Referring closely to the short story A Gorilla in the Guest Room, describe the slow development of the narrator's relationship with a gorilla. The slow development of a relationship. What is the key word? Relationship, and how it develops. It's not something that is which was there from the very beginning. It is something that has developed. Okay, so the slow relationship that develops. So the key word relationship, development of a relationship. Of course, what I find is a misnomer here is relationship with a gorilla. So our focus is only on one of the characters, though the story has two gorillas as its character. But here, definitely, our focus is one. But incidentally, when we talk about relationship, the other one will naturally come into the discussion, right? So we move to the next question that we have, and that is question number 2, which will be, just let me bring this up. Yes, question number 2 is yeah, a heartwarming and an intimate relationship between a man and a beast is depicted in Gerald Durrell's story A Gorilla in the Guest Room. Again, what do we have? Keywords: relationship. So the focus that you know immediately before you even start reading the story is a story which is based on a relationship between a man and a beast. Be very clear about that. How true is this statement? Write a response with close references to the text. How true is this statement? So write a response with close references to the text. Okay. So relationship again. What is the next question? Okay, this is in parts. Gerald Durrell's A Gorilla in the Guest Room presents 4 challenges. Okay, so we come to know that there are challenges that is faced by the author, narrator. Discuss each of the following in your own words. So there are 4 challenges, so roughly we're going to put them in 3 parts. So let's see how it goes. The first challenge. The challenges faced to get Npongo and Nandi to be a part of the Durrell family. So we get to know that there are 2 characters. Through the question, we get to know the 2 characters. Npongo comes first, so he must be the first gorilla that they've got. And the second gorilla, of course, is Nandi. And we're talking about Gerald Durrell, the author, who's written this story as a part of his collection of 1964 called The Menagerie Manor. Yes, he's known to be a mm, conservationist, writer of stories, English naturalists, and of course a zookeeper. So the challenges faced to get both of them. So challenge number 1, to get both of them, to procure both of them. What's the second challenge? The challenge faced to get Npongo and Nandi to accept each other. Okay, so that means they don't come together. Another sort of thesis established. They don't come together. They're brought in separately. So they have to get to accept each other. Otherwise, what is the use of getting 2 gorillas? They need to be friends, right? So that challenge that was faced, and the challenge faced to get to look after their well-being. So it's a relationship, remember, that is going to be established, and a relationship is based on mutual understanding and well-being, right? So those were the challenges, to look after them and their well-being. So what were the challenges that they faced? So this makes it a 668. There's one more question. Again, I think it's in parts. The Jersey Zoological Park is the perfect setting for an engaging man-animal relationship story. So we have the setting in the question. You have the setting of the story, the Jersey Zoological Park. The Jersey Zoological Park, if you just Google it, you'll find it is a small little place right on the English Channel, and it was established exactly about 60 years ago in the year 1959. It just turned 60, yes. March, I think it was approximately March 1959. So I guess it's turned 61, yes. And set up by Gerald Durrell. He also set up his wildlife camp and a conservatory there, but the Jersey Zoological Park is the setting where he gets his gorillas. And relationship comes in. So you know that this story is one of relationship, right? Otherwise, every question will not harp on it. The first part, the manner of procuring the two gorillas for the zoo. So, the manner of getting it, that's part of your earlier question, first part. So, I guess that was a challenge. So, it is a natural thing that we're going to look for the physical and behavioral traits of the two gorillas. So, you're going to describe the two gorillas, how they looked, the detailing, and how they behaved. Definitely there was a difference, and that has to be highlighted. Got it? That's your 6 mark. Let's see what the last part is. The human element that creeps into the story. Human element. We're talking about a relationship. So when a relationship is established between an animal and a man, there is definitely the element of the humankind creeping into it. Yes. Relationship of the living kind. I'm not going to use humankind, the living kind. And it transformed this story into a delightful family saga. You might wonder now, it's too strong a word to use, saga, but why not a saga? Saga means a series of incidents put together to get a story. So here you have a series of incidents. So we're going to look for the series of incidents that transforms it into a delightful tale, right? So have you got the key points written in your text that we are going to look for in the story? Yeah, got it? Give you a second for me to just shut this laptop and concentrate on the story. You all do the same. Here goes step 1, here goes step 2, here goes step 3. Are we ready with the story? Page 73. Okay? On the first page, now I'm going to highlight features for you based on the terms and questions that we highlighted, right? That's how we go about doing it. Okay, sounds good? Great, let's go on. On the first page, page 73, you have the key word in the middle of the page, conservation of wildlife. That was the aim, and that is what Durrell worked towards. And naturally, when you're looking into conservation, you want to preserve animals that are going extinct, and he realized the gorillas were going extinct, and he wanted a gorilla, and it was as if it was very fortuitous, because the animal dealer called him and he asked whether he wanted a baby gorilla. So it was as if fate played right into his hands. So that's the end of your first paragraph. You have the keywords here, baby gorilla, page 73. It can't be seen. I'm just giving you the page number. And then a little detail about the species. You can just read through. Page 74 is very important. We're looking at the challenge. You know how much he was asked for? 1,200 pounds. Do the calculation. Look at the amount of money. Not easy just to get a gorilla. His mother was delighted because she was more of a dreamer, not a very rational. She was not the practical side of it, because she was not involved in running the zoo. So she didn't know the challenges probably. But she said, "Oh, what a wonderful idea! I love gorillas. They are such dear little things." Yes, God, you would think like it was like getting a puppy into the room, into your house, or going and buying a favorite doll. Yes, but his wife Jackie, yes, is sort of her response was, said, "Are you mad? Because what does he say? 1,200 pounds to spend on a gorilla when somebody is running an overdraft in a bank. You're not making any profits. You're not making any profits running the zoo. Yeah, but Gerald Durrell was a hardcore optimist, right? So what does he say? Page 75. He said this island, I mean, where we are staying, like I said, where the Jersey Zoological Park was, close to the English Channel, he said they're full of rich people who have a lot of money to spare. So I just want to make a list and I'll start making my calls. I'm sure the money is going to flow in. It's so nice to be an optimist, right? And by the time the story ends, I just hope all of us turn into optimists, because only an optimist is successful in turning a dream into a reality. No offense to the pessimists out there or the cynics out there. All right. So what does he do? Coming back to the story here, what does he do? He calls up his secretary and he says, "Give me the list of." That's on page 75. Hope is the name of his secretary. How wonderfully named, right? An optimist who has his secretary called Hope. Can there be a better combination? Yeah. Okay. Right. Um, so he said, "Give me a list of all the rich people in this island." Yes, and I'm going to make a call. And then said, because I need 1,200 pounds for a baby gorilla. That's been very reasonable. He keeps saying very reasonable. We know it's not. It's sort of he's trying to justify it. Yes, and even Hope's response was just like Jackie's response. He said, "You must be dotty. You must be mad, crazy, gone off your senses. Rich people are hardly bothered. Forget about rich or poor. They're hardly bothered about which animal is going to go extinct and which animal is not." Yes, so you really think you're going to raise 1,200 pounds? He said, "Yeah, I will. Give me the list." So he takes the list, page 76, and he makes, believe you me, he makes just 2 calls and he gets his 1,200 pounds. Optimism pays. Hope is eternal, right? 2 calls. The first is to Miss McGurgle, page 76. And how much does he collect? 200. Great, it's a good start. I've got £1,000 to go. Calls up Major Domo. Tells him, I want to get a gorilla, right? And it costs very reasonable, £1,200. So he asks, "How much have you got?" He said, "I've got 200. Great. See his response, page 76 towards the end. "You'd better come along this afternoon. I'll find you the balance." Wow. He's going to get £1,000 from just one person. What more could he have asked? Yes. Page 77, second line. Major Domo was handing me a baby gorilla on a platter, so to speak. Super. Got the money, went over to London airport to collect the ape. And there was a doubt in his mind, because he believed that not many of us know the difference between a chimpanzee and a gorilla. Do you know it? Do you know the difference? Yeah, some of you, I'm sure, are raising your hand to say, "Yes, I know the difference." But let me tell you, gorillas are definitely larger, heavier, and they walk more like us. They walk on their toes, and the front two limbs are more like our hands. They're closer to animals like the chimpanzee. Uh, Other than the chimpanzees are more like the four-legged chimps who go hanging up from the branches of the tree and they go swinging from one branch to another. You will find gorillas more grounded, thumping their way across the forest. They are hairy, much more. Their skin more dark colored than a chimpanzee, right? There's something about their ears. A chimpanzee, you will have the ears jutting out, two sides. Ah, you're wondering why I'm showing my ears. Come on, what did Darwin say? We have evolved, right? So the ears are the same. Does it make a difference? Yes, so the ears of the chimpanzee juts out. But what about the gorilla? You'll have the ears hidden behind the mane, the thick black fur that's all around them, black or grey or dark brown, whatever. It's more darkish. So you won't get to see the ears. The chimpanzee's ears are visible, right? And another thing, the face of a chimpanzee is a lighter hue than the color of their fur. Definitely lighter. But the color of the face of a gorilla is definitely a darker shade. Darker shade. It comes closest. So many a times in the dark you cannot decipher the face of a gorilla. A chimpanzee you can. And when a gorilla stands up, it will reach the height of a full-grown human being, and much heavier, much heavier. Yes, a chimpanzee, if it stands, will reach half or the size of a full-grown human being, right? And so Durrell's fear was that probably it was just a chimpanzee, because not many people know the difference. But here he was in for a surprise, and a very pleasant surprise, because when he reached and saw the crate, very nice phrase at the end of the second paragraph on page 77, Npongo walked into my life. What a beautiful statement. And remember the relationship question? Yes, it was a beginning of a wonderful relationship. Probably, if I can quote from the last sentence of the movie Casablanca, I don't know how many of you have seen it, but the last sentence is, "This looks like the beginning of a great friendship." So this Npongo walked into my life is a phrase that shows the beginning of a beautiful friendship and a relationship, right? So the first challenge of getting Npongo is met here, right? I'm just checking for the time. Then comes the description of Npongo, which you need to know. Page 77. The details here are important. I would ask you to, these are just factual, so you need to underline it. 18 inches high, handsome and healthy looking baby gorilla. And the way, that he lifted up his arm, it was like a baby. The human element, please do not forget. Along with the description, the human element also creeps in. He held up his arms to be lifted, like a child. Please lift me up. I want to be close to you. Yes. Solid bone and muscles. That is a gorilla. Yes. Light chocolate colored fur. So this was not the dark fur that I was talking about. Light chocolate colored fur. Thick and soft. And the skin on his hands, feet, and face was soft and glossy as patent leather. Something like the leather that we have spoken about in quality, the finest German leather. Perhaps as soft and satiny and smooth. Details about this is a physical description. Remember, one question was that his eyes were small, deep set, sunken in, twinkling like chips of coal. You got lovely similes all through the story, and that's Gerald Durrell's style. Yes, chips of coal, bright and glowing, dark. Coal is dark, so it's very dark. Yes, like coal, and shining and bright. And some other qualities: giggling hoarsely, his eyes shining with amusement. Such human elements in even the physical description. Giggling is a kind of a action that you will associate with a little baby, right? Gurgling, maybe the giggling is like gurgling. An eye shining with amusement. Okay, there's something new happening in my life. Yes, shining with amusement. Yes, and very nice. He ate very daintily, unlike chimpanzees. Like chimpanzees stuff food into their mouth, but he ate daintily. Another human element on page 79. And then they decide, but he had to be put back into the crate, because only then can he fly back to Jersey, right? If you turn the page to page 78, he kept sitting on my lap, like a baby. Yes. And then he carried him up to his flat. I'm still with the first paragraph. The whole paragraph is very, very important because that's a settling in of Npongo that's happening. Yes, since his cage was not ready, Gerald Darrell decided to keep him in his guest room, and this is where the lending itself, lending the this phrase, lending the title to the story, a gorilla in the guest room, because it does move beyond that, but it comes from here. Now some qualities: grave, courteous, and a sad expression won over Jackie and my mother. See, mother was easy to win over because she already called him a dear little thing. But Jackie was skeptical, but grave, very serious, very courteous, well behaved, and a sort of a lost look in the eyes, like, when he says, "Hold me up, I'm lost, please look after me." What happens? The maternal instincts come to the fore, and that's exactly what happened to Jackie and the mother. The maternal instincts came to the fore, and they sort of accepted him wholeheartedly, and they decided to keep him in the guest room. Now, why was this important? Because earlier, Gerald Darrell mentions in this very paragraph that they had gotten Chamli the chimpanzee into the house, and she had created a mess of the guest room. At the end, they had taken a decision: never again would they get any other animal into the guest room. Yes, she had turned it into a bomb site within a space of a time. But they didn't have a choice. The only thing was what Darrell says in the middle of the first paragraph on page 78. I watched Npongo like a hawk. Like I said, lots of similes. I kept my eye on him so that he would not create havoc in the guest room. They were not ready to uh, sort of set right the wreckage that would happen. But look at what Npongo did. He was lying on the sofa when he became bored. He moved round the room to examine everything. Yes. And look at the comparison. He was like a small black professor in a museum. Now, this black is nothing racist about it. It's just how he looked, the color of the fur. Yes. Uh, Museum. Why? Because everything was a novelty for him. So he would look at the picture here, he would stroke at something there, but he was doing it so gently that there was never any danger that he would break anything. Human like element in it. And the next line is very important. I was captivated by Npongo's beautiful behavior. So the winning over has already started happening, and a beautiful relationship is also actually gradually growing. Don't you think so? Yes. And another line towards the end of the paragraph: my mother was doing her best to try to persuade me to keep him in the house permanently. Yes. But the author knew that he was a baby now. Yes, he was only a baby, so possibly now he was more under control. But he would grow. And even as a baby, if you turn to page 79, what does he say? There were numerous traces of his presence. Though he was so well behaved, yet, the first one, there was something on the wall that resembled a map of Japan drawn by an ancient mariner, inebriated, drunk mariner. So that means it was a scribble. So there was a scribble on the wall. See, nothing out of malice, nothing out of being naughty, but he was just testing the texture of the wall, and a mere testing by a gorilla means an imprint because he really does not know his strength and the power of his nails. Yes. So there was also straw. Now, something to play around with, remember. And next to paraffin, I know of no other commodity that manages to worm its way in a positively parasitic manner. If you keep straw in the room, what happens? That kept a bit of straw, so he could feel comfortable. So the straw is very light, and what happens? Like you have the comparing it with paraffin oil that spreads all over and sticks. Straw spread all over the room. Again, nothing intentional, just happened, and he was a baby. So I would not dare, like Darrell said, keep him in the room. And another thing, the next example that he gives is of the door handle. Yes, he said when it was at a depressed angle. Yes, why? Because when the narrator left the room and Pongo tried to open the handle, realized that this was the way to open the door, doesn't know his strength, pulled the handle, and it sort of went out of shape. He also tried to push it back, but didn't manage to. Sorry, didn't manage to put it back, so it was at a very awkward angle. Yes, so the last line of page 79. He was only 2 years old, and that his strength would increase in proportion to his size. So, what was to come was frightening, and they could not take the risk. So, they had to put him in a cage, right? But there are some very fine qualities described in the next paragraph. Now, you see, he remembered, Darrell remembered that each time they would put the chimpanzee Chumley in the cage, he would scream and howl and bring the roof down. But human qualities, human element, the behavioral traits of, I'm going back to the key words of the question, were reflected in how Pongo reacted when he was put into the cage. He accepted the necessity, page 79, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth line towards the end. He accepted the necessity of being locked up again. He would try his best to divert you, but when he realized that it had become inevitable, he would submit with good grace. So, the inevitability of it, he would submit to it. He might try to coax you not to put him, maybe pull your shirt, pull your legs, refused to budge, but then he realized it had to happen, he accepted it. Again, behavioral traits, very, very important. His only protest would be a couple of sharp and faintly peevish screams, very peevish, angry screams. No, like a child screams, but faint and sharp, high pitched, not that constant screaming and howling. No, no. A very well behaved child, if I can put it that way. Yes. And, you would expect, like he says, page 80, the average chimpanzee would have gone on having hysterics. He was so well behaved. Yes. So, there are 4 points here that you need to know on page 80. The first 4-5 lines. His attractive appearance, his disposition, the way he carried himself, his good manners, he was perfect and courteous, and his well-developed sense of humor. Now, are we talking about a gorilla or a human being? The human element. That when you're going to describe a stranger who has come to your house, you're going to describe his appearance, his disposition, his good manners, and his sense of humor. At least I would. So here we are describing the same qualities about a gorilla, right? Very important, yes. He became a darling of the zoo. Acceptance, beautiful relationship goes on. So he would show off to the people, he would loll on the grass, then he could pose for photographs with a sparkle in his eyes. He was acting to the crowd. That was his role. He understood his position. He understood his role, yes. And sometimes he would be playful, pull somebody, push, throw somebody on the ground, yes. He would do it out of sheer amazement. Sheer fun, amusement, sorry, not amusement, fun. Not malice, not to hurt anybody. Behavioral traits. A year elapsed. We are still on page 80. He had doubled in size. He grew. Yes. And then once an animal grows, it becomes very difficult to play with that animal because you become so small and weak next to it, right? And we have to give him a friend. So it was so wonderful that Gerald Durrell immediately thought that he needed a companion. He needed somebody of his own size, of his own kind, to feel wanted, so that he would not be lost in the zoo. So, what was the decision taken? To get a mate for him. So, that was another challenge, right? To get a mate for him. So, we shall stop here for today. We're already into a 30-minute lesson. I shall continue the same breath next time. So, we are stopping on page 80 when we have the author has decided that the others in the zoo, even he and his family, will not be able to provide the kind of companionship that a grown up gorilla needs. So the search begins to get a friend and a partner for Npongo. Yes. One little point on page 81 before I end. Please mark it out, the first three lines. Not wanting to see Npongo degenerate into one of those magnificent but sad and lonely anthropoids that I've seen in many zoos, I thought the time had come to try to procure a wife for Npongo. The wife is slash partner slash friend for Npongo, right? So this is concern. This is when a relationship is much more than that of a zookeeper and an animal. I'll leave you with this thought on page 81, first paragraph for today. See you soon. Take care and happy reading.